Welcome to the Sound Healing Global Summit, a free online event featuring leading-edge sound healing practitioners, revealing the curative and evolutionary powers of sound healing therapies to create vibrant health for you and your clients. Share this event with your friends and family, and come join us on Facebook at The Shift Network. And now your host, Alec W. Sims.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Sound Healing Global Summit. And on behalf of the Shift Network, I'd like to thank you all for being here. We appreciate you joining us here on this journey into the universe of sound healing as we explore many different topics and perspectives related to the therapeutic and transformative aspects and applications of sound, music, voice, and vibration. So I hope you enjoy the ride. And now, here to get us started in good fashion is Jonathan Goldman. Jonathan Goldman is an international authority and pioneer in the field of sound healing. He is the founder of the Sound Healers Association and director of Healing Sounds. He's a Grammy nominee, best-selling author, master teacher, and award-winning musician whose work has been influential throughout the planet over the course of 40-plus years of work in the sound healing field. And Jonathan has also been named by Watkins Mind, Body, Spirit magazine as one of the 100 most spiritually influential people on the planet. Jonathan, welcome.
Alec, it is a pleasure and a blessing to be here. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for joining us. And before we get into our main discussion, I just want to start on a slight personal note. And thank you for all the support and encouragement that you've given to me throughout the development and evolution of this summit, and for the various connections with certain speakers who will be joining us over the course of the event. So I could not have done it without you, so thank you.
Well, ditto, Alec, in terms of life, thank you for your extraordinary knowledge and work with sound. And with that, let us take it away and really explore the aspect of how sound heals.
Yeah, because it is a vast field. There's so many different niches and topics to explore. And that's what we want to do here on this summit, just bring on different personalities and perspectives in the hope that for everyone listening, there'll be something here some gems of inspiration that'll just catch you and tweak your own interests so that you can, hopefully make it your own and an empowered part of your own life. So that is our intention and goal through these days. But on that theme, inspiration. So Jonathan, what was your first inspiration that set you on this life's work of working with sound?
Alec, great question. For that, we're going to have to travel in our Wayback Machine. We're going to travel in the Wayback Machine to the late 1970s, perhaps very early 1980s. Right now, I can't remember, but I do remember the event. I was playing in a rock and roll band, and I was playing in a seaside bar in Marshfield, Massachusetts, and Cape Cod. And my band had just come back from a break, and I was strapping on my guitar, and I started playing and singing, and all of a sudden, I became aware that the ambiance in the club was one of negativity and violence. Now, mind you, the alcohol and the other substances that people had been imbibing in certainly was helping create this ambiance, but I was aware that the music that I was creating was helping to do this. And mind you, I had been playing professionally for about 15 years now at that time. And I had this thought, and the thought was minor and simple, and yet it was life-changing. It was this: what if music could be used to make people feel better? Because once again, it was obvious that there were a lot of people who were kind of angry and negative in this club. And within a week, that thought shifted and changed. It didn't go 180 degrees, maybe 3 to 4 to 5 degrees. And it changed to, what if sound could be used to heal? And all of a sudden, life changed, and doors to perception, reality shifted and changed and opened up for me. Within that next week, I basically was given a flyer for a workshop on how to use sound and music for healing by a woman by the name of Sarah Benson, who became one of my dear friends, mentors. I like to call her the divine mother of sound healing. She's operating from the angelic realms right now, but she was such an influence to me and to many different people. And after that, well, I just founded something called the Sound Healers Association that had, for over 10 years, monthly meetings that featured really, truly pioneering musicians, scientists, doctors, mystics who were working the sound as a healing modality. And they would come from throughout the planet to give lectures to the people who are in attendance at this gathering. It was quite an extraordinary thing. And after that, I basically went to Lesley University, which is in Cambridge, Massachusetts, for a master's degree in a program that I was creating called basically an independent study researching the uses of sound and music for healing. And from there, basically, I've been gathering information and with the sound healers, took my record company, which was, believe it or not, it was, shall we say, a new wave, not new age, but a new wave record company. And we changed it to a new age record company. It was one of the first therapeutic record companies. And the only thing we didn't have to change was the name, because for some reason, the name of the record company was Spirit Music. So Spirit Music is still Spirit Music. And life has just been a absolute fascinating, fabulous joy to be able to learn and also to share about the power of how sound can be used to heal, transform.
I'm happy you mentioned the Sound Healers Association. We'll make a mental note to come back to that, because in the ancient days before the internet, when there were not all these summits and Google and whatnot, that was really a hub for bringing the sound healers together for the students and the teachers who, to give them a forum and platform to begin their teaching. So mental pause and mental note to come back to that. But for now, I just want to make sure that we just dive right into the meat of like the big scale question. So from your perspective, what is the foundation of sound as a healing modality?
Well, that's a great and important and profoundly powerful fundamental question in terms of how does this all work? And the basic idea is something that our ancient mystics have been telling us probably since the beginning of recorded and perhaps even pre-recorded history. And now our modern quantum physicists and scientists are saying the same thing, that everything is in a state of vibration. In the beginning was the Word, and the Lord said, the act of speaking, let there be light. Speaking, creating light. So this idea that everything is in vibration. And once again, we know that from the electrons moving around the nucleus of an atom, the planets and distant galaxies moving around their suns, everything is in motion. And if it's in motion, it's conceptually making a sound. And this includes our body. And this is the basic, if you like, one of the basic tenets of using sound as a healing modality is simply this. We are like this extraordinary orchestra. We are playing the symphony of the self. Every organ, every bone, every tissue, every part of our body is playing together, producing different frequencies, different sounds. And when we are in a state of health, we say we're in sound health. But what happens if, with our metaphor of the body being like an orchestra, what happens if the second violin player loses their sheet music? They begin to play out of tune, out of harmony. Pretty soon the entire string section is off, and pretty soon the entire orchestra is actually sounding off. And this would be akin to a part of our body vibrating out of its natural harmony, its natural healthy resonance, if you like, its fundamental vibrations. And because of this, we say it's vibrating out of ease, out of harmony. We call it dis-ease. So the basic idea of using sound as a healing modality is simply, what if we could restore to this string player who lost their sheet music. What if we could give them back their sheet music? What if we could somehow restore back that part of our body that was vibrating out of ease or harmony, or it could be our body, our brain, our etheric field, so many different aspects of the self and the bioenergetic field and all the other names, the auric field, the chakras, all the other names that are given to this. What if we could somehow give that string player back their sheet music? What if we could restore the natural, healthy vibration to whatever was vibrating out of ease or out of harmony?
And although you just used a musical metaphor there, I think it's also important to get here at the foundation that, in essence, sound healing is not a musical practice, and you don't have to be a trained musician or like an American Idol contested golden voiced singer to pursue this field. Would you like to address that topic for a moment?
Oh, Alec, that is such an important thing. Thank you for bringing that up, because one of the things that we'll be dealing with later, very briefly, is my focus of attention after having been in this field for over 40 years on the simple act of humming. And this simply was because I wanted to create something that would be all inclusive and that everybody could make this sound without feeling somehow as though, asking if they were doing it correctly or right. Blessed be to all these wonderful shows that have added tunes like pitchy and whatnot. And all of a sudden we listen, we're saying, are they in tune or out of tune? And we get very, very judgmental on ourselves. So they think, oh, well, in order to do sound healing, I've got to be a trained musician. I've got to be a trained vocalist. I've got to really know music. And I did use a musical metaphor, but for sure, in order to use sound as a healing modality, you don't really need the slightest bit of musical know-how. It's very, very, shall we say, built into us, just as listening is a phenomena that's built in, and listening can be a phenomena that works for healing with sound. There's so many other aspects of our thing, including our voice. But once again, you don't have to be singing a song, Strangers in the Night, or whatever is, there. That's entertainment. That's great. Listening to music can be very healing, but you don't have to be able to sing, any sort of tune in order to use sound, particularly your own sound, for healing.
And even though we just went there, the distinction between sound and music, but a lot of these things can be applied and adapted for musicians and musical performances, as other people will probably discuss later. But just that expansive, inclusive foundation, that it's more like a branch of energy medicine, subtle energy work, than a musical art. So it's it's a very freeing plateau to start with. But from the energy perspectives, there's a couple different major categories of the energy work, the constructive and so-called destructive. Would you like to outline that a little bit too?
Certainly, Alec, very, very good. And once again, sound as an energy medicine, I'd like to say that sound is actually the grossest or slowest moving of the energy medicines. And because of that, it has the ability of affecting us on a really deep, slow-moving cellular level. And yet at the same time, there are these other sounds that are created called harmonics that allow the vibrations, not just vibration, but the vibrations, the frequencies, the harmonics that are created to affect all these subtle bodies and etheric field. But okay, to your question, there are two, from my perspective, major ways, first of all, that sound heals. One of them is through the sound goes into our ears and into our brain, and it affects our nervous system, our heart rate, our respiration, our brain waves, and that's called psycho-acoustics. So when we listen to music, or even just listening to our voice, that is a aspect of using sound for healing. But another one is called vibro-acoustics. And this is where sound goes into us and affects us on a cellular level, on a molecular level, actually shifts and changes our entire DNA structure. So that's incredible. So that's once again, if you like, the big category. And you were saying the two different ways that sound can potentially use for healing. That's great. One of them is based upon, well, one of my great teachers, a man by the name of Dr. Peter Guy Manners, who basically worked with creating frequencies that would be used and encoded into the physical body or the auric field in order to enhance the natural vibrations of the physical body. So it was healthy and in tune, and if something in it was vibrating out of tune, it would just shake off what was in it and get back into tune. That's number one. Or the other one is the idea, and a lot of us, think about the singer who literally can take a fine champagne glass or whatnot and shatter it with their own sound. It's because they're matching the resonant frequencies of it and breaking it. And the idea is that, what if we could also use this on different viruses, bacteria, what I call intruders, and basically shatter the intruders. And so, as you said, the constructive and the destructive. And at some point, I really see that in the future, the medicine of sound will be a combination of both enhancing the frequency of a healthy organ or enhancing the frequency of an organ that is out of balance, and at the same time using another different frequency to, shall we say, destabilize whatever is attacking it.
That's a brilliant vision. I was just getting an image of like two practitioners working just in real close sympathy or resonance, of someone maybe destroying or shattering, and then someone repatterning simultaneously. That's a beautiful vision. So may it be so. Another point that you mentioned in passing that's massively important is listening and silence and how that relates to sound. So I'd like to go on to that theme for a moment.
Alec, so very, very important, because when we become attuned to the extraordinary power of sound, and how it makes us feel, we become so enamored with it that we oftentimes don't realize the yin to the yang of sound, and the yin is silence. And silence is really, from my perspective, my understanding, and it took me many years to actually learn this. Silence is the place that is necessary to go after we've made the sound. Being in this place of silence allows the sound to shift and change us on an etheric level, on a physical level, on a molecular level, on any level you want, but you need to be in silence. If you're vibrating at a certain frequency and all of a sudden changing to another frequency, then you don't have that silence. And if you don't have the silence, you're not giving whatever is magical, mystical, and wonderful about sound, be able to make the shift and change that's necessary for health and transformation.
Absolutely crucial, because thinking of the metaphor of like shift and change, shifting gears in a car, there's that still point of silence. So you have to go from first gear to neutral silence and then the next gear. If you just tried to go from one gear to the next, you would just grind yourself out and may not be good. But yeah, that energetic presence in the silence, as you note many times, that's where a lot of the deep shift and change happens energetically. Even though the physical sound has faded, it's still present. So thank you for that. Sound and silence. But back to sounding. You were discussing humming and the power of your own voice. We'll say a little bit about the power of the voice, the importance of the voice.
Alec, I'm going to basically jump in before that and talk about for a moment the importance of intention, just because I think it's so important to share this with your audience. And basically, if I may, I was at Lesley University and I was collecting all this information from all these different scientists and doctors and metaphysicians and spiritual masters on how sound could be used to heal. And I collected about much paper, and I was sitting in front of a computer that was using a DOS operating system, which is certainly dating me. And I'm trying to basically correlate all these different systems, if you like, and they just didn't match. And I come from a family of doctors, father, grandfather, brother, all medical doctors. And I'm sitting there with my head in my hands going, oh my goodness gracious, how can this be? How can this be? Dr. X would be using one frequency, Dr. Y would be using a different frequency for the same problem. And yet they're both having some sort of success. And the spiritual master A would be using a particular mantra for a chakra. Spiritual master B would be using a completely different mantra for either the same chakra or a different mantra. It didn't matter. They were having success. How could this be? And I was sitting there, once again, in a state of intellectual angst. And all of a sudden I had my eyes closed and this voice said to me, it is not only the frequency, of the sound that creates the effect. It is also the intention created by the person making and receiving the sound. And I wrote down the words on that DOS operating system, frequency plus intent equals healing, because that was the outcome that I was looking for. And that was back in the mid 80s. And I think now, 35 years later, it is more relevant than ever. We've got so many different people talking about the power of belief, the power of placebo, the power of our consciousness. And I think it's really important for our people tuning into this to realize that our intention when we make a sound is vitally important. Because once again, you can make the same sound, and from my perspective, have two very, very different effects.
Crucial to think about, because there's a lot of these subtle energy arts. I think they do get more into the realm of being aspects of consciousness than energy that's in the electromagnetic spectrum that you can measure and weigh. But that's the beauty of the power of sound. It forms that bridge from the physical plane energy to the subtle energetic. So that's what makes sound, because all of the energy medicine workers speak in sound metaphors. That's why when we can be and listen and experience sound ourselves, that opens the gateway to all of these teachings. So thank you. But experiencing the power of the voice, say a little bit let's come back to that.
So yes, indeed, the power of the voice. And I simply wanted to go into intention because I've been dealing, as you know, for the last 3 years with, in particular, with the hum. I began humming 40 years ago and I got back to it working with my wife, Andy, in order to find a sound that everybody could make without judging themselves. And, okay, what's a sound that everybody can make and they won't think, oh, am I doing this right, et cetera. And we looked at each other and went, And so we wrote the humming effect. And the bottom line is that what I'm going to just share with you and your listeners right now, your listeners and viewers, is the idea that when we add intention to our hum, that really gives it mojo, it gives it magic, it amplifies the power. So, in a few moments, I'd like to just lead us in a couple of very, very brief hums, if you like, but at the same time, understanding that it's really so, if you like, empowering and amplifying when we add the intention of whatever we wish to have occur when we make the sound. Does that seem right?
That would be outstanding. Yeah, please do.
Okay. So for a moment, hold on, I'm going to sit up straight. And one of the things that's really mandatory whenever you're working with sound is basically just to take some nice, slow, deep breaths first. Mandatory. And incidentally, when you hum, just normally when you hum, you get a reduction of heart rate and respiration, your blood pressure goes down. And part of this is just simply taking some nice deep breaths, but you also, for example, you get the release of melatonin. and nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is a molecule that is actually very, very powerful and is an antiviral agent. So there have been a number of people who've been using humming as an antiviral tool. So I just share that with you. But once again, we're going to take some nice deep breaths. And then I'm just going to hum 3 times with my eyes closed. And I'm going to do it for myself with the intention of actually just experiencing pure relaxation. That's my intention right now. It could be healing anything from a headache to a sore throat to whatever, or projecting it down into my heart area. Once again, you can learn how to do this. But for right now, we'll just take some nice deep breaths. So this will be my next deep breath. And then I'm going to sound forth with 3 intentionalized conscious hum. Okay, here we go. So this will be my 3rd deep breath. If you've been doing this at home, just keep breathing and and another. And one more. And after you've done this, normally just be in silence with your eyes closed. And really, it's important also when you're trying to do intentionalized humming, find yourself a place where you will not be disturbed and where you won't be disturbing anybody else. So you can give yourself a little while after you've hummed. And I suggest humming for 5 minutes. You may find yourself truly blissed out. And oftentimes just taking a little notebook and writing down what may have occurred, because you may experience some really phenomenological experiences from this.
Thank you. As you and your wife Andy note in your book, The Humming Effect, the simplest sound is the most profound. And humming is pretty much the simplest sound, but it's just so beautiful among many other things. It can be a portable tool you can take with you throughout the day, wherever you are. You're just humming very quietly. No one's going to hear you, but know that those very potent internal resonances are still happening. So that's another power of the hum. Because vocal toning, as you were noting, it's not a singing practice. It's more about internal projection and energy resonances. And that's what the hum does. And if you block up your ears, you can actually hear and feel that vibration even more profoundly. But you discuss a yoga tradition that's related to that in your book. Would you like to mention that for a moment?
Well, that's called Brahmari Pranayama. Brahmari is the Sanskrit term for the humming bee, and pranayama, of course, is the science of breath. And simply, it's actually a very advanced, what they call Shabda yoga technique, with Shabda meaning the sound current yoga. And basically, all you do is block your ears, close your eyes, and begin humming. And it can be extraordinarily powerful. So these 2 little things, and once again, the whole thing with any sort of sound practice or any sort of healing practice that you do, is that this stuff is cumulative. Sometimes people go, I meditated for 5 minutes. I've done it. Now what? And the idea is, okay, you've made a sound for 5 minutes and maybe been in silence and really experienced that for 5 minutes. Do it every day, and the effects will become greater and greater and more powerful. And each time you do it will be a different experience.
also worth reminding here in the fast food ADD world that it's a practice. As you do the exercise, the resonance builds. It's like anything else. You don't like go to the gym once and now I'm Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'm done. You have to go repeatedly as part of your life patterns. So thank you for that reminder. So humming, toning. Back to the Sound Healers Association, because that was a really important seed, I think, in many, because a lot of the major first teachers came out of that group. Yourself, Don Campbell, John Beaulieu, Stephen Halpern, et al. And it still exists today online. Would you like to say a little bit of the nutshell history of the Shah and how it continues to evolve today?
It continues to evolve today, and people can go to the soundhealersassociation.org if they want to find out more about that. I just am so grateful that sound healing as a phenomena is becoming more and more, shall we say, accepted by the masses. And perhaps part of this is the fact that simply we're beginning to realize that we can all become empowered by our own sounds, and something as simple as listening to music, whether it's calm, soothing frequencies or humming or singing or whatnot. There are so many different, if you like, vehicles and different ways that we can use sound as a healing modality. And Alec, I would like to just right now jump into the idea that as a species, we probably could do a whole lot to help our beloved Earth Mother, our planet, in terms of healing from a whole lot of things. And so I want to just tell people who are watching this that on February 14th of the last 18 years, and in 2021, it'll be 19 years, we have something called World Sound Healing Day, where tens of thousands of people throughout the planet get together and they sound forth with an ah sound, sending a, if you like, coherent heart-brain energy to what I call the Gaia matrix or the Earth Mother, with the idea of raising the vibrations of all the sentient beings. And I just tell you, on a level, it works, it's powerful, and it's really important. And once again, there are many other as well, and I really strongly suggest to anyone who's interested, get a group together at any time and start making some sound together. You can even go. We have a website called the Temple of Sacred Sound, and that's the world's first cyberspace sound healing temple. With you can go to these different chambers that have the Om, the Ah, the Hue, and even more. So once again, these things are available, and we can all experience them to help raise the vibrations of our planet. What a concept.
Yes. Thank you for making all those resources available, because that's, especially these times where, we don't need to belabor it, but, the forces of separation, isolation are stressing everyone out, and people are like, well, what can I do? First, personal sound work practice to boost and enhance yourself, but also importantly, that group communal sounding, even if you are separate. I'm of that belief that even if you're alone in your living room and you're making the sound, you're still connected to that web of consciousness, and you can make a difference. And there is research on that. Would you like to summarize that for a second?
Thing. When we make sound like a hum, or even when we listen to pleasing sounds, you get the release of oxytocin, which is the trust hormone. A lot of people call it the love hormone. But this is the reason why when people are basically, if they make sound together, or even if they listen to sound together, any barriers between them will break down because they begin to entrain and resonate with each other, and you get the release of oxytocin happening between the two of them. What a cool thing. So once again, another kudo to the world of sound.
Yeah, I just think back to all those years we did the Healing Sounds Intensive as a metaphor for that power of the group bonding. Is, think about it, every year there'd be 100 or so people who are like strangers who, probably would not have said hello to each other if they met on the street like the day before. But after like a day or less of sounding together, these incredible senses of community and connection evolve. So I think that platforms like World Sound Healing Day and the World Sound Healing Day website can help serve that goal for the benefit of everyone. So, because we all need more of that good medicine and good news these days. So. And on that note, you mentioned two websites. You mentioned templeofsacredsound.com, soundhealersassociation.org. What else do we have? worldsoundhealingday.com. What's the main website where people should go to find out more about your work and offerings?
Well, as Wayne Dyer used to say, the big enchilada, the main website, and here we'll go, is healingsounds.com. And from there, we have all sorts of extraordinary, vehicles for healing. You can get everything from free downloads to getting articles and information to, we have just all sorts of things. It is a gala phenomena of sound healing activity and things. So I really strongly encourage people to go visit healingsounds.com. They won't be disappointed. It is actually, I don't know if you know this, Alec, it is an award-winning website. It won a Visionary Award for the best website some years ago. So we give thanks for that.
Hey, a beautiful thing, because you've been very active there recently. You've put up 2 recent free downloads, including a guided meditation called the Sound Health Enhancer. That was intended to intentionally to help people with that immunological response that you were just discussing a few moments ago, humming to increase the nasal nitric oxide and the antiviral properties. So thank you for that. And what else would and there's a blog series on that topic as well. So that's just very pertinent to the now. So in addition to all the recordings and free articles. So thank you for sharing and making all that available.
Hey, it's what more are we going to do right now? We've got to give things away and get just everyone to be resonant and be in a state of non-duality and oneness so that we can really achieve some sort of new level of consciousness and new vibrations. And I want to thank you for being such a fabulous, not only are you a great, many people do not know this, but a great author. You're the author of a fabulous book. I believe it's called Sound Healers for Beginners or Beginner's Guide to Sound Healers. It doesn't matter. Alec Sims, and Google it. His book is one of the best on the market, and I really want to acknowledge that. And the fact that letting this information get out to people, all of a sudden, we create some sort of sonic illumination that occurs, and all is good.
All is good. It will continue to get better. That's the affirmation we just have to have every day as the antidote to what we see on the news. But we erase that thought far immediately. And just, thank you for being here and sharing the good vibrations and continuing to put them out. Thanks for making the time here today, Jonathan.
Alec, my pleasure. There are a gazillion things we haven't covered. I'm sure that a lot of your other guests will cover a lot of them, and just want to tell everybody that through our light, our love, and our sound, we can make a difference. We heal the planet. We heal ourselves. We heal ourselves, and we heal the planet.
That is the perfect note to end on. As you said, there's so much more. And there will be more. There's more at healingsounds.com. And there's so much more to come here on the Sound Healing Global Summit. So thank you all for being with us. And as you listen to these sessions, know that we are connected. Feel that connection and through sound. And as we continue together, as Jonathan noted, you do make a difference and can make a difference. And thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for joining us for the Sound Healing Global Summit, brought to you by the Shift Network. To learn more, visit soundhealingglobalsummit.com. To join our global community of people awakening to their divine humanity and taking inspired action, visit theshiftnetwork.com. Thank you again for gathering with us and for sharing this healing path with your friends and family.